Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. I hope you're all fine and dandy on this, what is in the UK, a very chilly Thursday. I must say Thursday morning. It is still morning here in the UK, but it's probably going to be afternoon somewhere, so we won't redo the whole thing. I want to start today by laying out an apology, and I do that a lot because I'm usually in trouble for something, but never before. I don't think. Actually, it's probably happened once before, but not for a long time have I actually left somebody off the little scrolling text bar. And I did in the previous cast, the last Supreme Commander Epic. I left off Crispy Ambulance, or was it Grisby Ambulance, or however he styled himself or fashioned himself these days. Yeah, so I'm very sorry for that, sir. It shan't happen again, I hope. And, yeah, you have my profound apologies. If there is one thing we can take from it, though, it's that people actually bother to read the scrolling text at the bottom. You're never quite sure when you put these things together if anyone's actually going to take notice or whether it's all just a giant waste of time. But no, I had at least 4 people in the comment section say, Guile, there's only 3 people on Team 2. What the hell's going on? This is awful. And it is pretty bad. So hopefully it won't happen again. I had a bit of deliberations over what to cast today. I had a couple, and Keezer actually sent me quite a nice one, but it didn't quite make the grade. And the only reason I mention it, I never usually do, is because it was a game from the latest balance patch mod thingy. And I would like to cast the game just so we'd have a bit of a chat about it and showcase what's coming up, what might be coming up. So if you have a good game, guys, please do send it my way. I'd love to be able to talk about some of the changes. I'm not thrilled about some of them, but I'd like to talk about them some of the less. If you're wondering what I'm not thrilled about, it's the upcoming nerf to T3 land. They're trying to make T2 more accessible in the later game, so they're going to nerf T3 land, and that really leaves, that means they're going to nerf the Percy as well, which kind of leaves late game UEF up a certain creek without a certain implement, shall we say, when it comes to fending off experimentals. But it's still in alpha phase. The only way that these devs can get the right answers to all of these strategic balance questions is if lots of people play the mod. And I'm hoping that if I throw that out there, we might encourage you to play it a little bit more. Anyway, that's enough of all that. It's going to be a ladder match today of kind of low order pros, and it's the return of the 5k map. Feels like a long time since we had one of those. So today we're going to rectify it. We're going to go over to Ambush Pass. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how these guys are going to get on. Ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. So there we go. As these guys gate in, we'll go to, press the right key would help. We'll go to split screen so you guys can see their wonderful, wonderful openings. And as you can see, it is a UEF mirror matchup today. So afterwards, I shall be rubbing essential oils into all of those special places that Guile likes to be tickled. That's right, very exciting stuff. Up in the top, in the blue corner, it's not a corner at all, it's actually in the blue center, but we won't go into that. It's Fyren, and you can see he's chilling there going first land, second land, and down at the bottom in the red middle end of the map, it's Pappa Dries, of course, as we said, also going UEF, and he's going first land, second air. So there we go, slight differentiation between these two on their choices of start for Ambush Pass. 1, 2, 3, 6 P-gens queued up there for Fyren. Pappa Dries with 2 up already and another 4 queued as well. So both going for the obligatory 6 P-gen start and mixing and matching which mass extractors they're going to go for first. And yeah, interesting configuration. Fyren going for the horizontal parallel, whereas we have that's quite pretty though, you gotta like that, a little adjacency bonus going diagonally there, which will link to both the land and the air factory. Scrolling out to see what's going on in the wider picture now that we've got a handle on how these guys are starting. So we've got a little bit of lab play in the early game from both of these guys. Mech Marines heading out to the eastern edge of the map on both sides, and both players have a land scout out there as well. So the first shots are fired, they run into one another, and Fyren is just about coming on top there. but will promptly get popped by the second lad coming in there from Pappa Dries. And a second lab from Fyren out down the western approach of the map as well. Pappa Dries not sending anything out that way for the time being. Going straight to work there on that air factory, so he's going to have a few extra options open to him as to where he goes from that. It's going to need to ramp up the power just a little bit. Of course, no hydro on Ambush Pass, which makes it slightly trickier in the opening stages. Got to build a few more T1 P-gens than you were expecting. Fyren a little bit behind on his second factory, just getting that land factory together now, already with an air scout in play. Pappa Dries has 2 mech marines in the top right hand corner now, coming in to threaten that mass pump over there. Engineer goes down, does actually manage to get a counter reclaim off there on Fyren's Snoop that was in the area as well before it gets popped off. Mech Marines coming in, unload those massive guns they have on board there at that mass extractor, causing a few issues there. But anything actually coming in? Well, it actually looks like Fyren in the background there is dispatching his ACU to deal with this bipedal menace that is these Mech Marines, and they're thinking, no, I don't like that. We've scored a kill, let's get the hell out of there, something must be coming our way, and they are right. Probably assisted by the actual intel coming in from that Snoop there. That's a nice little bit of hit and run play. T1 bomber out for Pappa Dries, harassing, no, not actually, just flying over that western approach. Looked like he was going after the mass extractors at first. Could score a couple of good kills here on some vulnerable NGs. There goes one of them. Wouldn't be a bad play to focus on some of the T1 P-gens. He might stick with the build capacity though. Another nice little bombing run takes care of 2 more NGs, rapidly depleting Fyren's build capacity in the main base. 1 mech marine has made its way down the bottom right hand corner of the map and is wailing away on that vulnerable mechs down there, nothing being dispatched to deal with it. That mass extractor I thought was being attacked early on has now been dispatched by another T1 bomber. The other one that was working on the build capacity up here has been shot down by something. Presumably there's an archer or 2 on the field. Yeah, there they are, 2 T1 mobile anti-air vehicles. Shoot down the first bomber, second one still free to cause problems. Going after a radar, that gets taken out. Nice little push meanwhile going down on the eastern approach there from Fyren, trying to hit back and put Pappa Dries under some pressure. Kills the NG working on the PD and is now going to go to work on the old structure that wasn't completed, and also the mass pump as well. That's going to go down. Not sticking with labs anymore. We have upgraded to striker play, and Pappa Dries pulls his comm from the main base, says, I've done enough building, thank you very much, let's get in there. And now all 3, sorry, I was about to say 4, all 3 of these mexes are in trouble. Is he going to kill them or cap them? He's going for the cap, so extra mass going to be flowing Pappa Dries' way, which is no bad thing for him, unless he's power locked. No, he's not. So he's actually 10 mass behind at current reading. 27 to 13, actually. It's worse than that. Fyren doing a little better on the ecoing side of things. T1 bombers now harassing that spam in the bottom right-hand corner belonging to Fyren. 2 of them, and that will be enough to essentially remove the threat. Fyren trying to rescue what he can from that pack. Pappa Dries completes the 3rd capture, but there's another group of T1 heading south, this time down the western approach from Fyren, and it looks like they might be forcing a run-by on the comm and trying to get into the main base here. Pappa Dries does have some span ready and waiting. Looks to be about 7 or so strikers. They get a good formation on Fyren, who also manages to sandwich them there with the commander. And that looks like he's going to tidy up that mess. The last few stragglers head towards Death Alley. Of course, those civilian turrets over there cause you all kinds of problems if you can't dispatch them first. And Fyren now down the eastern edge of the map with his ACU, is throwing down a couple of rail guns, trying to prevent any more ground being won through the air game there from Pappa Dries. Pretty intense early game here for a ladder match, but that's what you get with these 5K maps. We really do need to showcase more of them. It's been Team Game City of late, and what ladder matches we've had have been, I think it's fair to say, of the larger detail, but these close quarter matches do tend to escalate quickly. Pappa Dries trying to get some kind of defensive position in play over here. The spam that was heading south by Fyren warded off by Pappa Dries' own units in the area. Pappa Dries just strolling into Fyren's base with his comm. And it's literally wide open. Doesn't need to worry about the anti-air. Should get in there and focus down some of these mass extractors, some of these power plants. He's now going to work on the T1 P-gens. But hello, Mongoose on the scene. So Fyren hits T2 and dispatches that Mongoose and tries to keep it at range. Obviously, a quick overcharge would deal with that, so he doesn't want it to get too close, wants to keep it out of Pappa Dries' commander range. Utilize all of that Mongoose's weaponry to its best effect, and that's a bad decision. Fyren, you want to pull those back, taking point defense fire and getting squashed up against the map by reinforcing units there from Pappa Dries. And Fyren, having had to pull his commander to defend his main base, now leaves this position wide open. Commander no longer in place. Pappa Dries senses a potential micro victory, and indeed that position is now lost for Fyren. Yet more map control ceded, and Pappa Dries, who's actually giving up a couple of hundred almost ladder ranking points to Fyren, putting on a pretty solid show here. Remember, he's still operating from a mass deficit, 17 to 30. Nothing is teched up, it's all T1, but he has the ability to, with more map control, tech up at any time he likes of his choosing. Fyren is, well, it's hard to estimate exactly, but I think he's pulled in around about 600-700 mass more than Pappa Dries. See, it just ticks up to 13k there against the 12k in total mass accrued. So nice to have this back in play. Delectable casting device with so much information. Supreme scoreboard. Always a pleasure. Those Mongoose being used to great effect. Seem to be more effective, more and more effective these days. Had gradual buffs, I think it's fair to say, over recent patches, and of course will be even more effective still if plan changes to T3. Go ahead. That little push up the eastern edge, getting itself cornered. All T1, nothing of any great shape. We actually got tech in play here. No, we don't. So Pappa Dries very much... Ah, yes, we do. Sorry, excuse me. We do have T2 tech. There's the HQ working on Mongoose. And I think that's the first one out so far, or will be when it completes. 10% to go. And Fyren finds himself surely powerlock. No, he doesn't. 11 mass per tick against 35. What a massive change around here. 16k or 17k now versus 15k, and that map control really coming into effect now. Fyren needs to find a way out of this, needs to find a way to expand or to eco up just that little bit harder, getting a energy storage online. Doesn't as yet have access to overcharge. Feels like he's going to need it soon enough. Wants to use his comm more aggressively still. T1 for Pappa beginning to drop back as he builds up on Mongoose a little bit further back. He's getting an upgrade on his comm as well. Once again, upgrades not showing in the chat. Not sure exactly why. Do have notify enabled. Very cagey stuff. Both players trying to utilize the max range on those Mongoose. Fyren with a good chunky comm still. 10.5k HP there. Meanwhile over here, Pappa Dries. Did he complete the upgrade? Oh, a nice overcharge. Takes care of 3 of those T1 units in one go. Actually seeing what's on these comms here. Yeah, so that upgrade was cancelled. Still no upgrades there on Pappa Dries' comm.
Commander under attack.
The old-fashioned way without having... And no upgrades there on Fyren's comm either. Pappa Dries does have access to overcharge as well. Fyren now dipping into the yellow. 8,500 hit points left on there, and he's losing Mongoose quite considerably as well. 27 to 15 now, the differential between these two guys. 640 power versus 320. Do have an air factory online, but production paused currently, and Fyren holding the front line now with his commander, and almost his commander alone. Does have a couple of Mongoose, one very badly damaged up here, but he's now sub 50% of his base HP. T1 bombers in over the top, going after the Mongoose. Hard to catch because of their mobility, but they do manage to snag that one that was pretty badly beaten up. Pappa Dries not forcing the issue up over here, is going to try to grab that upgrade once again, and I think he's got a good chance of getting it now, seeing as the units that were stationed here to guard that ACU attack are being repositioned. The amount of pressure being thrown up the eastern edge, just a little bit too much to contend with. Fyren under heavy sustained assault now. Ask a question, how long can he keep this up? 15 minutes gone, and he seems like he's been battling a losing battle for about the last 7 or 8 of them. 6,300 hit points left on the commander, 41 kills so far. 47 out of 65 points of the next rank in veterans. He's a 1-star commander at the moment, so we'll get another chunk back on as soon as he hits that 65 point mark. Still, Fyren just not advancing in eco. 17 to 40 now. Just feels like he can't spare the mass to upgrade. Pappa Dries nearly done on the upgrade. Love to see a cheeky Tech 2 air upgrades on one of those factories, that really would change this game up. Cause Fyren a few problems. Fyren holding his ground. Yeah, these T1 bombers causing major issues now. He's got nothing to hit back at them with. Air power really should be a priority of PapaDries'. A couple of gunships, he could clean this up. PapaDries completed his upgrade, and it's the Zeph amp, dramatically increasing the damage that that basic gun does. And now he's coming in for another base assault. Incidentally, quick verbal straw poll, guys. Do you like bloom on or bloom off? Someone in the previous comment section of a previous video said that I should turn it back on. Let us know in the comments what you think on that front, and I'll adjust accordingly to suit the majority opinion. Overcharge takes care of a T1 PD in the center there. Mass extractor down. One that Fyren really can't afford to lose. Just 15 mass being produced now. He feels like he has to keep being aggressive. Probably turn around now, send everything back and put PapaDries in a tight spot. Although, having said that, PapaDries looks like he's sticking pretty close to the perimeter, keeping a quick exit on the cards. Overcharge into that pack of T1 P-Gens, takes out another 3 of them. Power not the problem at the moment for Fyren. It's
Commander
mass.
under attack.
Though doing pretty well on the reclaim side of things. By keeping his commander on the front line over here in this area where there's been constant engagement for the last 10 minutes. Fyren scooping up enough mass just to keep himself in it. Very, very ballsy stuff. He might be leading. He might have a comm with a gun upgrade on board, but still needs to be careful he doesn't bite off more than he can chew here. Just dipping in and out of the yellow there. Sub 75% health now. Taking the opportunity to pick off the odd engineer here and there, assisting those T2 factories. Back over here in the east, Fyren just can't seem to secure it. Nice broad formation though, helping to zero in on those units as they come in. Overcharge takes care of the last 2 pillars up front. 2 more though in over here, and the rest is spam. Lots of spam though if they decide to zero in on Fyren's comm. This could be it. Just 19 minutes comm. Fyren in the tight spot now. Sub 45% HP. Due a rank in veterancy any minute. 1 more kill should do it. But he can't seem to hit the same target twice. Luckily for him, those units have decided to try and get into the main base and cause damage up there. Meanwhile, PapaDries over here still causing damage. Oh, you don't want to stop there, out of range of everything. Well, in range of those mongoose. Fyren did get that rank in veterancy, and it restores him to around 60%. Little success over here in the west. That position was being held by PapaDries' comm. Taken out by 4 mongoose there from Fyren. All of the civilian structures, barring that one T1 PD, have been recycled now. Pappa Dries still on about 70-75% health. Still taking out structures in the main base. 2 factories down. A couple of PD down. Mass extractors keep getting taken down and then being rebuilt. Rankin Vet puts him up near 100% health. Lots of mass, though, to be reclaimed now for Fyren, who's a good 8k in total mass accrued over the course of the match so far. 31-15 on generated eco. But look at the difference there. 13k reclaim versus 9.1. This game would be over now were it not for Fyren's positioning in this reclaim field. Engineers coming in here for Pappa Dries don't live long enough because of that comm to scoop any of the goodies. Engineers heading out this way will get some reclaim, but in the main base for Fyren, Pappa Dries still chilling, reclaiming factories when he gets the chance. Another mass extractor down. Fyren down to just 9 mass per tick now. Surely this is unsustainable. And that is the T2 land headquarters, a structure that Fyren desperately can't afford to lose. Pappa Dries doesn't like the quantity of mongoose though, so he's being just careful enough. And of course, the further those mongoose get away from Fyren's comm, the closer Fyren has to move back to his own base, allowing Pappa Dries to potentially expand just back and forth all day long. These two try to deny each other any potential map control. Another T1 mass extractor down in the main base. Back to 9 mass per tick for Fyren. Pappa Dries on 10.5k now on his comm. Needs to be very careful. Fyren coming in from the east. There's a lot of mongoose here. Exactly the sort of situation you have to be careful of when you've been on top and you've been aggressive for so long. Doesn't need to overcook anything here. He's sitting pretty. Pillars strafing across the front of the base, but Pappa Dries on around 8.5k, Fyren on around 9.5k, there or thereabouts. Doesn't have the ZFAMP upgrade, admittedly. Pappa Dries also is a fully 5-star comm now, so there will be no new ranks in veterancy heading his way, no restorative chunks of HP. As these two comms exchange fire, mongoose coming in from behind. This could be Fyren's chance if he can lay those mongoose on thick enough on top of Pappa Dries. Doesn't want to lose too many to overcharge. Needs to try and keep them spaced out as best he can. 4 more mongoose heading in from the east. Pappa Dries nearly down into the red now, but so is Fyren. It's tense, close stuff. Fyren dips below 25%, but backs up. Helpful cliff face in the terrain there, creates an avenue for him to do so. But now we've got pillars coming in the back door in the west for Pappa Dries, but not a particularly vulnerable side of the base to attack now that we've got some more PD going up. Fyren gets another ranking vet. Very helpful and opportune moment there for him. He's 5-star now. There won't be any more coming his way, so he better make use of it. He's up to around 60% of his health. The mongoose coming to the center of the base so they can lay down fire on those pillars, and that one mongoose that are now in the middle of the base for Pappa Dries. How much damage can they do, if any? Well, not a lot. Pappa Dries just can't seem to break this base. He has come up front with an engineer. Crew has thrown down a T1 PD and arguably has left the most important wall sections unconstructive, but the range on the mongoose, does it really matter? He needs T2 point defense rather than T1 if he's going to really cause any problems there from defensive emplacements. But in comes a little air wing of 5 T1 bombers here. What are they going for? Are they going for the air factory? Nope. They are going for the power grid right at the back. 4 T1 P-Gens out of commission, and that has power locked Fyren. Nice decision making from Pappa Dries. Fyren already only putting out 13 mass per tick. That's going to drop even more when that power that is stored up in those batteries runs out. Another crew of Mongoose taking out the western position belonging to Pappa Dries. Another upgrade on the way for Pappa Dries, just about 25% complete. Needs to be careful here. Fyren pushing forward on this eastern edge might have to cancel that. There's a lot of Mongoose in this area of the field for Fyren. Big alpha strike on that grenade volley. And of course that Gatling range as well to boot, and is also making progress down here. Takes down a T2 mass extractor, dropping Pappa Dries back below 40 mass per tick once again. 5 pillars dispatched to combat those, but the Mongoose withdraw, and this is a missed opportunity. Fyren should be sending these bots in now. What can he see? He can see what's a very scary looking blob, but what we can see is that he massively outnumbers him in terms of T2 units. Get in there, throw those volleys in, take out these T1 tanks and force a cancel on this upgrade. Doesn't have a lot in the way of air power or indeed anything, so it's not like he can run a quick interceptor over there, but he's missing an opportunity here. Needs to send them in, use that range. Away goes the volley. Pappa Dries has to cancel the upgrade. Very nice work indeed from Fyren. T1 bombers in over the top to cause problems. We are starting to see some skyboxes on the field, at least over in the west for the time being. So Fyren recognizing the threat from the skies, and he's starting to progress for the first time in about the last 10 minutes or so, maybe 15. He's up to 21 mass per tick versus 35. So just starting to eat into that mass advantage. Pappa Dries still leading in total mass accrued by about 9k. Reclaim wise though, it's 24k versus 10 from Fyren. He's been doing a brilliant job at the reclaim game, trying to keep up with Pappa Dries. 8.5k on Pappa Dries' comm. Fyren's on 12.5k. And look out, that's a lot of Gatling box, Pappa Dries, and you don't have a lot of support. You have support back here, but you're outnumbered in tech and almost outnumbered in general units. Fyren needs to send these units in now, and he can win the game. Pappa Dries, what are you doing? You should be withdrawing, and this is what happens when you get overconfident and you've been in the lead for the entirety of the game. The last few Mongoose in the area for Pappa Dries are toast, and he needs to withdraw and do it now. Oh my word, that's an enormous volley. Pappa Dries has thrown it all away. Boom, baby. Phenomenal work from Fyren. Pappa Dries was all over that game for the best part of about 20 minutes, maybe a bit longer, but somehow manages to throw it all away. So, and it's another comeback. I'm so sorry. That wasn't really a comeback. That was kind of a that was kind of a throwaway from Pappa Dries. But it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do when you are that far ahead and you've had your opponent's butt back to the wall for so long. Oh man, yeah, I promise. You see, it's not intentional. It's not intentional. I don't think, I'm only going to cast comebacks. It's just that inevitably one person gets ahead in a game, typically, whatever the game is, and if the game is going to go a decent distance, that other person on the other team has to put in some kind of a fight, and a lot of those times that involves them actually coming back. So it's not intentional, and I will try to mix it up a little bit in the future, I promise. I promise, because otherwise you guys always know who's going to win, and I know it's a real bugbear for some of you. It's really doing your head in, so I will look for more diverse replays, but it's really quite hard because I thought that was quite entertaining, and for me to then look at that and say it's still more entertaining than some other match, but I have to cast the other match just so you guys aren't going to guess who's going to win. It's a rock and a hard place, or a mass extractor and a ACU. That makes no sense. You know what I mean. Anyway, guys, shorter one today, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. As always, more to come from me in the future. Don't forget, if you feel so inclined, you can support me on Patreon. Every donation helps me and, by extension, the channel and the community. So thank you in advance for any support you can afford me. But until next time, guys, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.